Blues in a Nutshell by Ilan Sebastián Estrada González. The blues is a musical form and genre that inspired so many generations over the decades with a delicate taste of rhythm. The blues was born at the 19th century in the Mississippi Delta and other regions of the South. This genre will later on become the lifeblood of the musical in the United States and the African American music as well. It is a reminder of harsh times, a hard reality, depression, slavery, and we might recognize it as well for work songs, hula fields, and the religious songs. Furnish was known by the slaves as a term created as a compensation from the master to them. And it's almost impossible to speak about the blues, knowing already that this system was really inconvenience for the African Americans at the time. It was almost impossible that you clear the books at the time with the master. Real Milton even said once that the slaves remind themselves that they were almost this close and this close only to clear the books. It was a structure that later on will inspire blues for its songs and its lyrics. And then we will later on recognize as a misery, as a miserable time for them to live, and as a complicated deal between them and white society at the time. Melancholy remained as an outlook for the slaves in the blues. But how is the blues created? The first elements that surrounded the blues were introduced around the 1860s, around almost a century later, the 1970s. Blues genres including Delta blues, country blues, and Chicago blues were introduced, marking the transition with rock to create rock music. Within all this world of opportunities, new rising stars that before were slaves will become the pillars of a new society, even having this direct relationship with white society at the time. It involves different moods and different periods of the time in history that then interconnect themselves. Now, black men and women, we know and we might recognize them, they were introduced around a different society that they had at the time. But don't take me wrong, Bessie Smith said once that the blues is more than a tradition. It was one of the pillars in the pre-war music around 1912, the best elements of African American and American music by 1950. And after World War II, it will inspire rock music. Electric blues became popular in various cities, including white cities at the time. And by the beginning of the 1960s, well, African American music, rock and roll, and soul were part of the mainstream music. White performers, such as the Beatles at the time, performed these African American rhythms, known at the time as blues. The blues styles influenced other genres such as rock and roll, jazz, and soul, and the presence of blues goes beyond anyone's imagination. It is a genre that fulfills a need in every man and woman that listens to it. And it was taken even to the highest standards of inspiration on theater, TV, music, musical shows at the time, of course, live performances, dancing, and it was a gift that they had at the time, a gift in music. One of the blessings of the Lord, the inspiration for them to be more that they were doing at the time, that they will have a chance in the outside world, in a different society. One of the main importances of the blues is simpleness. And I'm a brown boy from Mexico City who discovered the blues at the age of 17. And I really encourage you to discover the blues in any way you want. Always with great contemplation, with the name of the Lord in front of you, and since it's a such unique gender, respect. Thank you very much.